Welcome back to the podcast that could absolutely get away with murder, so back off. Welcome back to another episode of the Love, Death and Movies podcast, internet's #1 film breakdown and review show, the show that crushes watch lists week after week. Every month is a different genre, every week is a different film in that genre, so follow us on everything, join us on the ride list, watch the movies. That's impressive to do that in one breath. With me each and every week is the pride of the West Coast, Ash vs. Movies. Ash, how are you?
I'm great.
That's good.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. And welcome to finally one of the most loved movie talkers in the space, the insanely knowledgeable and M.Night truther, KMeeks. Meeks, good to finally have you on. We've been talking about this for years, I feel like. But it's good.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm so impressed by your intro that I need to like focus again on the
Yeah.
material now.
Focus up, KMeeks. As everyone knows, we're going through the month of M. Night Shyamalan. And KMeeks is one of, all of your podcasts are all M. Night truthers, which that's what made me become a fan of your podcast, to be honest, because I've always loved M. Night. And then when we started to plan the month of M. Night Shyamalan, we're like, we got to get at least KMeeks on. So we'll definitely get Doug and Owen on eventually, for sure. Because there's so many more M. Night movies that I want to talk about, Ash. And so I feel like we need to do another one because we still got to do Old. I want to talk about Old and Unbreakable and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So Chemics, we started up. We've done 4 this month, of course. So we did The Visit, then we did Signs with Seth. Last week we would have it's
The
called
Village.
The Village, published The Village, and then we're finishing up with Trap. So it's a good little
Right.
mixture, some popular ones, and then like one of his latest films as well. So it's good fun. But yeah, so yeah, we're going into the last week of M Night Shyamalan, which is going to be good fun. But before we get into that, how are you guys? K Makes, how's your week?
My
How's
week was
life?
great, actually. I got a lot of writing done,
Oh,
a
epic.
lot of screenwriting going on. I played basketball yesterday, and then I played again right before this podcast, 2 days in a row. So I am beat up as we're recording this. I can't feel anything below my neck really.
Oh wow,
But for the most part, I'm doing okay. I actually mentioning one of your previous episodes, I listened to the episode with Seth, the Signs episode,
epic.
and I heard you guys mention The Happening, and I was like, if you ever want to have me back, The Happening is a
All
movie
right,
I would be glad to
done.
talk about. I will dispel many opinions about that movie. And also, I want to point out on your podcast that Seth mentioned that he did an M Night podcast with us and only named Doug and Owen and not me. So I texted him on the side and gave him shit about it. And I was like, when I appear on your pod, I'm going to call him out for it
Yeah, epic.
publicly just
I
to
love
make it look worse.
That's hilarious. I think I remember him saying that, and in my head I was like, "K Mix is there."
Yeah, I didn't register it, but yeah, you say that. That is funny.
That's so funny. Oh, awesome. No, it's good to have you here, man. Ash, how are you? How's your week?
Yeah, no, seriously, thanks for being here. I'm excited to talk about this movie. But yeah, my week was fine. It's just, work's crazy. So pretty boring, just working from home. But yeah, nothing really too exciting this week. Watched some stuff. Watched, M Night 2 nights in a row. Haven't done that in a very long time. That was fun. Trap followed by The Village. Nice little
Oh,
double.
wow. That's a great pairing, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did that
But
last
yeah,
night. Yeah, that was great.
yeah,
Uh,
it's pretty boring week for me. Nothing too exciting.
that's all
Excited to
right.
get into the film.
Yeah, epic. Yeah, my week was good. Work's insane at the moment, but that's all right. Got to my cinema's doing like its last run of Anora, and K Mix. I'm a big Anora truther.
Yeah.
Um, it's like
I've seen it 3 times. So,
I've seen now 6.
oh,
I
wow.
I
Yeah.
fucking love this film. It's great, and each time I bring new people to it, and they always leave being like, I get it." So like, it feels good. Only person I know in my family that doesn't like it is my mum, and she's like, "I didn't think there was going to be that much sex in it." I'm like, "You knew it was about a sex worker." So like, it was just classic traditional people. But yeah, and other than that, my week was great. So Chemics, for a little bit of context, there's a sport in Australia called AFL, Aussie Rules Football, biggest sport in the land, and it's like I love it more than I love movies. And my team played yesterday. We versus the team that destroyed us in the grand final last year, and we lost by less than a goal yesterday. So it was a bit heartbreaking, but coming back from getting destroyed at the end of last year to the second game of the year, losing by less than a goal, improvements all
Huge
throughout.
progress, yeah.
Absolute. So there's a lot of good to take away, but still being so close to revenge, it really hurt. We went out last night, so if my voice sounds a little hoarse, my bad. But we ride, and we're going to talk about Trap, which is directed by M. Night Shyamalan, released in 2024. Budget was 30 mil, which is kind of low for M. Night, because you go back to other films, The Village's budget was like $200 million.
Wow.
And box office return was 82.7. So I think it very much depends. This is now in the era where M. Night is financing a lot of the films himself. So that's why they're always going to be a bit low. But quick synopsis is 30,000 fans, 300 cops, one serial killer, and no escape. A father and teen daughter attend a pop concert, where they realize they're at the center of a dark and sinister event. So, guys, what do you think about Trap? Give me a quick, honest review without your final score, because we'll save that to the end. KMeeks, what's your history of Trap? Because I was going through I remember that you posted about it, and I revisited your post last night that you got to meet M. Night at this event for
Yes.
Trap, right? What was that
did.
like? What'd you say to him?
Yeah. I only got to say a handful of things. I like, obviously I'm biased because that was probably the coolest movie going experience of my life. I've been to now since then I've been to a couple, like influencer screenings or whatever and like premieres and stuff. But the Trap thing was like a real big deal. It was like the New York City premiere of the film, and I don't have like the biggest following in the world, so I wasn't like personally invited. But my friend and somebody who you guys are friends with as well, George Carmi, as everybody on TikTok knows, could not attend, and so he emailed them saying, instead of inviting another influencer, you should invite my friend Kevin. He also makes content and he really loves M. Night. It would be a good move if you invited him. Coolest thing he could have possibly done.
Yeah, George is
and
awesome.
they said yes, and they invited me instead of some other random person with millions of followers. So I got to go, and it was a whole thing. Met M. Night Shyamalan, met Josh Hartnett, met Salika, M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, who plays Lady Raven in the movie. It was cool. The meet and greet was very like quick. It was kind of just like a line of all the influencers there, and you just like go up and take a picture with him, and then they like move on to the next person. So I couldn't have like a whole conversation with him. But one thing I will say is that I told him, like when I went up to him, I was like, this is very surreal because you're one of my favorite filmmakers, and he like is so genuine. Like you could tell that it actually like meant something to him, which I think is really nice, because surely like a lot of people walking up there were probably seeing Josh Hartnett, who's the star of the movie, and they were like freaking out about that. And I'm like, no, I need to tell M. Night Shyamalan that I love him, and you could tell it really meant something, which is sweet. He seems like a very nice guy.
He does.
And it shows in his movies. It shows in this movie as well, which I really like. That's not really a review. I know you asked for a review, but that's my that's my experience with the film.
Nice, fair enough. Ash, what's your history with
My experience
Trap?
is nothing like that, but that is really cool. And that was very nice of George. Wow. Yeah. As far as Trap, I've only seen it twice now. I really have so much fun watching this movie. I've always been a Josh Hartnett stan, and I was excited to see him coming back to movies. I think what was Oppenheimer, like the first one that we've kind of back in.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I
we
was
saw him
very
first in Black Mirror. He
Oh,
did an
that's
episode
right.
of Black Mirror, and that was
Sure,
like,
yeah.
and everyone's like, "Holy shit, Josh Hartnett!"
Mhm.
And then started being in everything now.
Yeah, he was such a big like heartthrob of my childhood, I feel like. So yeah, it's fun to see him back in movies. I think he's just menacing and also so loving in this movie. It's kind of hard to like watch the transition because you want to like him, but obviously he's doing a lot of bad things. But yeah, I just love like the cat and mouse aspect of the tension that builds here. Obviously, rewatching it, knowing what's going to happen, it shifts it a little bit, but I still feel like it's enjoyable, even though you know where it's going. And the vibes are just there. The music's great. I don't like this kind of music at all, I'll be honest, normally, but I was just like kind of, dancing along with all the songs. They're all very catchy, and she has a very good voice. And I really like the cinematography too. I think that's kind of a given, but that for me does enhance a movie experience. So this one's kind of next level with all the red and the shots. So yeah, I have a great time watching this movie. I don't think it's ever going to be a favorite M. Night for me, but I think it's like up there with ones I have the most fun watching. Definitely very rewatchable.
Epic. Yeah, I love Trap. I'm very much on board. Anything M Night puts out, which I don't love everything. I love majority of what he puts out. I don't love everything, and that's why I said in the Signs review, I was like, we should do one for The Happening because I don't like The Happening, but I'd love to have someone on that loves it, so I can try and get convinced. Yeah, so if you love The Happening, I'd love to
I
have
do
that
love The
conversation
Happening.
because I'd love to go through and
It's
be
a
like, I
wonderful
think
film.
this part's dumb, and you're like, no, it's great because of X, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Well, so I really want to be convinced because I love M Night so much, and we've talked about so much through these episodes, Ash, how good he is at writing about family. And that's one of the spoilers because I'll go through the notes. It's the reason why he cast Josh Hartnett because he's a family man, and how he talks about his family in how he talked about his family to M Night, and he's just like, all right, you're in the film. But every time M Night releases a film, love him or hate him, you cannot deny it's fucking entertaining. Just the lead up to an M Night film, it's just so entertaining and like. He now has like because one of my clients for work is Universal Pictures and I do like movie marketing in Australia, and they're like earmarking like next M Night Shyamalan untitled film, and they're like earmarked a month, and they're like no movies are coming out around then because they just know they're gonna have because they got really good traction in Australia for some reason. He just a lot of M Night stands down under, so like I just can't wait till another M Night film, but it's really a new era. Like after about what was it called? After Earth, the Jaden Smith movie, which reportedly he didn't even really direct. It was just kind of like a director for hire job where he got money and then he used that money to make The Visit, and that was really like the return to him making whatever he wanted to make. And then he kept rolling on. That's when he made Split, and then he rolled on to Glass, etc. And he's doing just passion projects. He's literally just making what he wants, and that's what I really love about this new era of M Night. And Trap's just like that. It's just such a cool, unique story because I remember going to Taylor Swift like 3 weeks before seeing Trap, and I knew the premise of Trap, and I was at Taylor Swift, just bopping my head, being like, I tell you what. Could be a serial killer here. So like that whole idea is just such a really cool idea. And I thought Josh Hartnett was awesome. I agree. I love Josh Hartnett. So I think him coming back is so sick. And I thought he was perfect in this film. And yeah, I thought it was really good. But let's get into it. I've got all notes from start to finish. It's not really long because the movie's quite simple. But I'll stop periodically. But again, like if you have something to say, just butt in. So absolutely. So start off with fun fact here. M. Night Shyamalan declared in an interview that the plot was inspired by the Washington, D.C. Operation Flagship Sting, which was in December 15 in 1985, which was organized by the U.S. Marshal Service and the Metropolitan Police to lure wanted fugitives to the Washington Convention Center under the pretense of free tickets. It resulted in 101 arrests, one of the largest and most successful mass arrests of fugitives by the U.S. law enforcement. So Operation Flagship was also inspired by the sting shown in Sea of Love, which was released in 1989. Another fun fact here before we get started is while being distributed by a major studio, which is Warner Brothers, Trap was allowed to resume filming under the interim agreement of the SAG after a strike because M. Night Shyamalan independently finances his own films. So, hell yeah, M. Night. Let's go.
Yeah.
This guy rules. So let's start off. Philadelphia firefighter Cooper Abbott, played by Josh Hartnett, takes his daughter Riley to a pop star Lady Raven concert as a reward for her good grades. There, Cooper notices the unusually high police presence around the concert venue. He learns from a vendor named Jamie that the FBI planned to catch a serial killer known as the Butcher, which, by the way, Jamie in this film is one of the funniest characters in like the last 20 years. The post-credits scene or mid-credits, whatever, is so funny. He's so good, and like I love like every now and then.
He was at the premiere as well. The actor was there. I mean, they brought up most of the cast there, but yeah, he's like you could tell that everybody there was cheering a little extra loud for him.
Sick. Yeah, good.
Because he's like, he's very much like the heart of the film by just being funny. And I think it's also just like important that this is M. Night said himself that this is like in his opinion, his funniest script. Like he was trying to make it funny,
It was as well,
which he gets a lot of flack, at least with a lot of his other movies, because people interpret certain lines and they're like, oh, that's so funny because it's bad, or whatever people might say. And it's like very much the intention here to be funny. And I think there are a number of scenes, including all of those scenes with Jamie, where it's like, yeah, this is funny. Like this is just really silly.
Yeah, I love all the scenes when he's talking to the mum of the daughter that bullied her daughter, or like left her daughter out of like plans and stuff, and he's just like being really nice, and he turns away and his face just drops. You're like, oh, you're like a second away from dying. Like,
it's a perfect representation of how you would want to talk to somebody who maybe you really don't want to speak to, and you're trying to like get out of the conversation. I feel like the way he does it is, I was laughing through every single one of those moments.
For sure, yeah. I kept being like, yeah, he's a father still, but he's still a serial killer. Like, yeah, there's like he's like like his mask drops for like a second, which is hilarious. Known as a butcher, having learned he will be in attendance, Cooper is revealed to be the butcher himself, secretly checking on his the footage on his phone of his latest captive victim, which is Spencer, who is in his basement at this moment. He steals Jamie's ID card and learns the passphrase that will identify him as an employee, uses the card to gain access to the back room, and stealing the police radio. So, fun fact here, when M. Night Shyamalan was figuring out who to cast as the lead in Trap, so Josh Hartnett went to Ireland during production of The Watched, which he filmed, which was released in 2024, and had lunch with him. And the two talked about Oppenheimer and Black Mirror and living outside of Hollywood. And when they spoke about being fathers to 3 girls each, Shyamalan knew that Hartnett would be perfect for the role. Shyamalan just loves family. He loves writing about family. He loves telling stories about families. Every movie has a family essence towards it. Like you think about Signs, it's like it's a whole movie about grief and the loss of faith within a family, and then like this alien invasions in the background. And then you look at Sixth Sense, and it's like this. It's another film just about like single parenthood and grief. And it's just like, oh, by the way, you can see dead people. Like Shyamalan does these like little family stories, and then has this like outrageous, like unreal, like overview across it. But I just want to stop there and see what you guys think about the beginning of the film, because I really like how he cases the joint. You don't know. I do wish the marketing was done a bit differently. And I know that it's not M. Night. I know that's more in Warner Brothers, not Universal. I really wish we didn't know if he was the serial killer or not. I think that would have been a really cool little tie-in.
I think it's important though that like leading up to the movie for a long time, that was the suspicion. I think it's interesting how it kind of like flips the story on its head a little bit, because so much of the marketing leading up to that was that there's a serial killer there, but like, is it Josh Hartnett? Is it not? And then there was like a later trailer very close to the release of the movie that like showed that scene where he's in the bathroom and sees like the person on his phone. And so then you kind of know, but like, it's interesting how many people were led to believe that you wouldn't really have that revealed until, 60, 70, 80 minutes into the movie. And instead it's revealed in like the first 20. So it's like, it's a lot. And then you realize the movie's going in a completely different direction. And I think a lot of like, we'll get there plot wise, but a lot of what happens at the end of the movie was like totally not, I mean, the trailer for the movie is essentially the first 30 minutes of the movie, so it's like a lot of where we go in the end. Nobody knew that was even going to do that whole cat and mouse thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, nice. Ash?
Yeah, it was interesting rewatching it because I didn't really watch any of the trailers. I did know that he was the butcher from that scene you're talking about, but it was interesting rewatching it because to me, it actually seems it didn't really take away from it that So I'm glad I didn't let that impact my first watch, because I think a lot of people did have that kind of be ruined for them, and they had kind of like a lens for this movie going into it. But honestly, rewatching it, you kind of learn that it doesn't really, that's not the point, is that you're supposed to figure out that he's the butcher. Right. The point is him kind of trying to get out of this thing, not finding out that he's a bad person. There's so much going on, and her slowly learning that he's keeping secrets and acting weird. So it's kind of, it's about something different. And I think that was nice to rewatch it and know for sure that really doesn't impact the plot whatsoever.
You get a little boxed in because like the expectations for a lot of people, I think, and it is like a problem that's really thrust upon M. Night Shyamalan specifically, is that, yeah, is like the twist, because it's like, it's not even just that, but I think a lot of the movie going public really expects all of their movies to be a certain way or to like do a certain thing, and it's like, this is what a movie is supposed to look and feel like and whatever, and anything that's like a variation on that and is different is, like it's hard for them to accept that. And so with M. Night, it's like you have this like predetermined thing for most of the movie going public, where it's like he didn't even, like, just because you make your first movie have the greatest twist in history, it's like that doesn't mean you need to just do that all the time over and I mean, nobody can replicate that, of course, but like,
But he still is able to do it, because you watch.
He is,
you watch
there are
Old,
like good twists as
you watch
well.
Old, and like I'm not a huge fan of Old, but I think Old's twist is sensational, and like so like he's still able to do it. But I agree, it's kind of like you can't mark this film down because it doesn't have a classic M. Night twist, which he probably could have done towards the end. Like, spoilers for the film, he could have been like, oh, the family's all in on it. But at that time, it would kind of feel a bit cheap when that's not really what he's trying to say. So yeah, I completely
And he's
agree.
had movies where he kind of like plays on that as well. Like, a number of his films at least are like things where he's kind of like telling people like, no, this is not how you should interact with my films. Like, it's not as simple as like, this is what I do and that's what you're going to get out of it. And I think that's important that people realize that. And Trap, if you're going to hate Trap, that's probably not the reason to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. No.
Yeah, for sure. But I will say about the beginning, sorry, circling back to your
of
original
course.
question, as someone who was like at Riley's age, like that about concerts, like going to them and like the hype and the excitement, I find it so enjoyable watching that beginning, because you see how much joy she has and you kind of see it fade by the end of the movie, like she's heartbroken. So
Right.
I like that you get to see her like just really being a kid and really being so appreciative and happy to be there. Because I definitely remember feeling that way. Like it's almost like a moment before this like big truth that's gonna like alter your life forever. Like she's just so innocent in the beginning, which I think is really cool to get to see through the lens of a concert. And obviously the idea of a serial killer being captured at a concert is just the premise is it's so cool. Like it's
a great high concept premise. Like it's like it's impossible to not sell somebody on that idea.
Yeah.
It's
The elevator pitch for that is like perfect.
Oh yeah.
It's so cool. I just love all the scenes where he's like casing the joint, like even like little things. He's just like looking up. You like seeing people get arrested,
Right.
they're all like checked, and you can tell they're looking for people of his build and his look, that's coming through. And he's just and he does like he like leaves a girl like Riley in the seat. And he just starts casing the joint outside, and that's when he gets all the radio and stuff, and he puts the oil in the oil, and like does
To make it explode. Yeah, the glass.
in the deep frying oil, and makes it explode and like completely obliterates a woman, which is fucked. You could just tell that like he's in panic mode right now, and he needs to put the fathership aside and like find a way out. And that's like just watching him kind of become like Rain Man, when it, like looking around just trying to like piece everything together, and he's like getting desperate. Like the dancers come out of the floor and the floor door is still open. He's like, should we go check that out? And he like, no.
That is the funniest scene in the movie, by the way. When you were talking about the movie being funny, easily the funniest scene in the movie to me is when he's just like, why don't we go down there? And she's like, why would we do that?
I love that shit, man.
Not into the idea at all.
He looks pretty psychotic in the eyes when he's asking her too. So
yeah, exactly. But he's like desperate to like find a way out now, which is pretty funny. But hearing a woman predicting his movements over the radio. By the way, I love how he gets the radio, and it's just like instantly it kind of feels more like a video game. It literally feels like a level in Hitman. Ash, if you ever played Hitman, I'm sure you have, KMeeks, or at least know about it. It's like you're playing a Hitman. It's like super stealthy. You got to like get clues on how to get through a level to get to your target. And it really felt like that from when he gets the radio, and he's just like every single time it's like you got the main FBI detective who's the profiler, who's like going, and he's just like, he'll be doing X, or he's like heading to a door, and he goes, he'll be trying to leave right now. He's like, oh, and like turns around. It's so funny, but it's so smart. I love the way M. Night writes this film. But yeah, hearing a woman predicting his movements over the radio, Cooper sets an explosion of food off in one of the food stands and uses the chaos to gain access to the roof, where he learns from the police officer that the manhunt is led by Dr. Josephine Grant, FBI profiler. Confused by Cooper's behavior, Riley asks him to stay with her, which is a weird ask for a daughter to ask her father to stay with her at a concert. She talks about being chosen as Lady Raven's dreamer girl, who gets to dance on stage with the singer and receives a backstage access, which Cooper believes is the only exit not covered by the police. Cooper lies to Lady Raven's uncle, played by M. Night Shyamalan, that Riley recently recovered from leukemia, and gets her selected for Dreamer Girl, which is, again, definitely inspired by Taylor Swift. A lot of this concert, the whole idea of Lady Raven, I'm convinced is inspired by Taylor Swift. Makes sense. Like, she's the biggest pop star in the world right now, and that's kind of what you want to do. Because you got the 22 girls that like get chosen to, like, when she's singing 22 and she gets the hat. It always gives a hat to like one girl. So I love the idea of the Dreamer Girl here, and I just love whenever M. Night pops up on screen, it's a delight. Like, I was watching The Village last night, and I completely forgot about his cameo. Yeah. And at the end, he's like one of the security guards, and even they like double down on it, where like, because one of the security guards is stealing the medicine to give to Bryce Dallas Howard, and he opens the fridge door, and you see him in the reflection. You're like, oh, I get it. Don't worry.
I love that shot. It's so cool.
When he appears, you could just tell he loves it. He loves a little cameo, but he's great.
Yeah.
But however, after the concert ends, Cooper learns that the police are also guarding the backstage exit. He privately reveals himself as the Butcher to Lady Raven, threatening to remotely kill Spencer if she does not escort him and Riley out in her limousine. She complies, but asks to come to Riley's house, where she stalls for time by explaining the FBI operation to the family, unsettling Cooper by describing Grant's profile of him as someone with maternal issues and obsessive-compulsive disorder. She also explains that the police discovered details about the Butcher's attendance at the concert via a torn ticket receipt left at the vacant house that was reported anonymously. So what do you guys think about Lady Raven of what's her name? Shamik Shyamalan? Salika Shyamalan? Yeah, what do you think about her in this film?
I think it was great. I think I that's the kind of, I mean, M. Night movies are divisive often, but that is like one of the things I see people divisive about the most, is like a lot of people just did not like the movie and they complain about her very often. And there's obviously the element of M. Night casting his daughter in a movie, but I think it's important that you guys mentioned family and like how prominent of a theme that is in his movies, and I think an important part about Trap, and maybe what makes me like it as much as I do, is that there's like this huge metatextual element to it, where it is very much about his relationship with his daughter, as much as it is about the relationship with the daughter in the movie. Like, it's a story about somebody living a double life, and like M. Night obviously is like looking inward and being like, I've missed a lot of my kids growing up because I'm a filmmaker and I've spent so much of my career having to be away from them and whatever. And so it's like balancing those two things and like maybe regretting it and like not being an active part of your children's life as much as you might want to be. And I think these things are like super important to mention and super important to think about, because it makes you like his movies more. Like he is, he's, I mentioned that he was sweet when I met him in person, but like his filmmaking itself, like what's actually in the movies is very sweet. Like he is just like a guy who loves his kids.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what every single movie he ever makes is about. And it's like, I think it's really hard to get upset about that. I know a lot of people have all these conversations about that stuff and they're like, oh, she shouldn't be in the movie. Like it should be somebody else. The nepotism is ridiculous, whatever. And I'm like, who cares?
Yeah,
like it's like, it really doesn't, it's like, there's not a better way to do it. Like, it's like you are a filmmaker who makes movies about how much you love your kids. And now you're making a movie where you jumpstart your child's career by putting her in your movie. It's like, it's exactly what I would expect from a guy like him. So
I personally think if you write, direct, and finance the film, you can put in whoever the
Sure.
fuck you want.
Yeah.
Like
This is that's also true.
that's
Yeah.
like he financed the movie. This is his project. Like he has final say. Put in whoever you want. It's the same thing with
Yeah.
like people getting upset that James Gunn puts his wife in projects. It's like he likes working with his wife. Like, well,
Yeah.
leave him alone. Like it's like she's great as well. Like I hate those people, to be honest. It's such a weird argument. So yeah,
Yeah.
I did see those people online being like, "She's terrible. Like she shouldn't even be in here." I agree with you. I think she's great. She has that
No,
one
same.
line
And her
delivery that's just
singing is
like,
great too. I mean,
yeah,
Mhm.
she. I
mentioned it
think,
already, but the music is super catchy. Like her singing is
yeah,
awesome.
I think
Yeah.
she. That's one of the main reasons she's in this film to kind of like kickstart her singing career. Because I agree. I think
Right.
she's awesome in this. Um, but yeah, there's that one line delivery. She's like, Cooper is the butcher, like when she's in the bathroom, and everyone keeps clipping that, and I'm like, it's so out of context, and like I actually don't think that it's that bad. I think as a whole, I think she was really cool. I love her character. Her whole idea is, her whole character's badass as fuck. Where she's like, oh,
Mhm.
you're the butcher, cool. I'm gonna make sure you get caught, and like she's like not scared, like she's like doesn't back down at all. I love that shit. And like that scene at the family's house, I think is so good, and it's so tense. And like Shyamalan does really good in writing tense scenes, and like we're going back and forth, and you don't know if the family know yet. If
Mhm.
Right.
and like if they're like not even suspicious or even in on it, you don't know. And so like you don't know if Lady Raven's actually in major danger right now or anything. But I thought that was really cool. Yeah, Ash.
I I like her. Yeah, I don't know. I watched it the second time thinking to myself, because I saw a lot of those reviews or comments too, and I was like trying to find a scene where I was like bothered by her acting or
Yeah,
anything, and
same.
I just wasn't. So to me, it makes sense. Like, what are you going to cast an actress who's not a singer to play a pop star who's singing throughout the entirety of the movie? It just wouldn't really make sense. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really get that complaint.
Um,
I think she did a I thought she was great. I think the scene, especially when she's talking to Josh Hartnett in the not the trailer, but in her like makeup room afterwards, when he first tells her like the fear that she has. She doesn't really say anything in that scene, but she has this like fear in her eyes.
yeah.
I thought it was captured really well. So yeah, I think she does a great job, kind of going like tit for tat with him, I guess. Like I don't really know a better way to say that, but like she kind of has to like continue. She kind of continues to try to get him caught throughout the entirety of that second half of the film, and I think that they balance off really well. He's huge and menacing, and she's like tiny and like has like a sweet looking face, and it's just like a nice like um I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but it's kind of cool to see these two different characters who are complete opposites. And she's like not afraid to try to get him caught, which I think is badass. So yeah, I have
He
no
is
issue
huge,
with
by
her.
the way.
Yeah, he's
He's
like 6'4".
when I met them in person, he was massive, and she is not very tall. So I was like,
You could see it.
I was standing next to both of them. I was like, oh, you're short, and Josh Hartnett is
Yeah,
gigantic.
he's built as well.
He's a big guy. Yeah, he's pretty ripped too, but he's tall. Yeah.
He looks like he's definitely over 6 foot, because that scene where he's like, "I'm gonna keep my like finger on your shoulder," I think it is, like when he's
Right.
behind her, I was
Yeah,
like,
you could
"Man,
tell. Yeah, he's like
huge."
he's giant. Yeah.
You,
Also, before you move on plot wise, I
go
want to
ahead.
mention just like one very
Of
tiny
course.
scene that I think is worth bringing up. Is you mentioned M Night's cameo, and like one of the best parts of the movie is when Kid Cudi shows up for
Oh
like
yeah,
one scene, and
Duff.
it's like the
Yes.
funniest, also the funniest scene in the movie is
And he's just
when Kid
such a
Cudi shows up
diva.
in the hallway. Yeah,
Is
I
that
love
who
that part.
that is?
Yeah,
Oh my, I can see it now that you're saying that. I was very late to discovering that. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, I love when he catches eyes with Josh Hartnett in
Yeah,
the
he's, like, flirting with him.
end. That's so
yeah.
funny. But one point I want to shout out that I can't believe I haven't yet. Sayobu Muktapron, is that how you pronounce his
Mhm.
name?
Yeah, Sambo
Um,
Mukti. Yeah,
this film is stunning, by the
Mhm.
way. Like it has this scene where like that is there's like 10 seconds that's shot on a kettle. I think that's what we call in Australia. Do you call a kettle like a teapot?
yeah,
And it's stunning to watch. Like this movie is shot perfectly. It's beautiful. This guy's unbelievable. I can't believe this wasn't nominated for best cinematography. This and challenges, to be honest, both of his films. Um,
and queer.
yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, I watched Queer like 2 months ago because it just came out in Australia. That movie's stunning as well. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's unbelievable. He's literally like now a name that like if I know you're shooting a film, I'm gonna watch it. Like,
Yeah, he's like the best guy working right now. I know he worked a lot previously with Pitchapong Weerasethakul, who is like a lesser known filmmaker, but I haven't watched his movies yet, but my understanding is he's very talented, and I know he plays a big part in making some of those movies look so good. And then now with like all this Hollywood stuff, especially this past year, and he also did like Call Me by Your Name for Luca a while back before he did Challengers and Queer. Like he's kind of the best guy working right now.
He is. He really
like
is.
probably the most talented guy working right now.
Yeah. Oh man. And like this film is just stunning. Yeah. And yeah, Luca's making a new movie called Sergeant Rock. I'm just looking at it right now, Sergeant Rock, and it's got
that one might be falling through.
Oh really? Okay.
Well, the thing is that Daniel Craig is dropping out of it. I don't know what is going to happen with the rest of the movie, but well, you know, to be determined, I guess.
There you go. We'll find out. Anyway, I've only got the last little bit, but let's go. Lady Raven steals Cooper's phone, which is such a good move, and locks herself in the bathroom. She obtains details from Spencer about where he's taken and live streams it to her fans, one of whom finds him and rescues him. I love this little bit about like Lady Raven kind of using her fame to solve this and like to make sure this guy gets out safely. I think it's I saw a lot of reviews saying this is so unrealistic. I disagree. I think this is so realistic as possible. If Taylor Swift went on live, she would instantly get hundreds of thousands of fans.
Yeah.
And if she's like, hey, if anyone's in this area and knows this color door, this statue of a broken lion, you would find him. I'm sorry, like you would absolutely find him.
It's very smart, I think. Like I actually think it's like a really good use of your resources, like memorizing all these details and then like actually getting people to act on it. And also, in addition, even if it wasn't realistic, it like one, who cares? But two, it's like actually important to one of the themes of the movie. I mean, the father-daughter stuff is like the biggest idea, but there are other ideas in the movie. And like the reason why he's modeling an entire character after Taylor Swift is because he's trying to say something. And there are multiple, you talked about Sam Bhumukti Prom shooting the film. There are multiple scenes where like, you know, there's this great shot of Josh Hartnett's character when he looks around and just sees like first his daughter pulls her phone out and then like the whole entire stadium pulls their phones out. And it's like talking about technology in the way that he's doing. It's like, it's very intentional. And so like the kind of similar to like the life balance of Josh Hartnett's character, it's like he's kind of being like, oh, like early in the movie, it's lots of scenes that are purposefully making technology look bad, and then you have this one scene where it's like, oh, that just saved someone's life, like that, you know. It's like, and it's really weighing the pros and cons. Like it's not just like cut and dried, it's a good or a bad thing. It's like, oh, she's saving a person because of her following online. So I think that's really interesting. I think it's smart to think more about whether like beyond whether a scene is realistic or not, and actually like what it might have to do with the movie you're watching. You know, I think I really like that scene for that reason.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's clearly trying to say something, and she's using community to a certain extent, even though it's people she doesn't actually know, to make like, someone's life better. I feel like you don't see that from a celebrity in a film portrayed very often, like using technology.
Of course not. Yeah.
Positive thing. So yeah, I definitely think that context matters.
Yeah, sure. I just thought it was so smart. I thought it was really genius to instantly be like, boom, put live stream. But I personally think it's super realistic. I think that could absolutely happen, and it could absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, oh yeah. But yeah, she outs Cooper to his wife Rachel, and he locks his family upstairs while Lady Raven texts her driver to contact the police. Cooper attempts to drive off with Lady Raven, but Cooper's family escapes and distracts him long enough for her to flee into the limousine. I love this bit because you see him crack and you see him disappointed with himself, where he's like, I forgot to lock the window in the bar. He's like, the window. He's like, you can tell he's like, he hates himself for that, because he's like, he's normally perfect. The police arrive and Cooper flees the house through a secret tunnel. Such an M. Night is like, oh, there's a secret tunnel. Before disguising himself as a SWAT officer and driving the limousine off with Lady Raven. After he reveals his identity, she locks the window and draws a mob. She unlocks the window, and draws a mob of her fans to stop him so that the FBI can catch up. Cooper changes into a fresh set of civilian clothes and gets away once again. Cooper returns to the house and confronts Rachel. This is that beautifully shot scene. He's intimidating as fuck because he's just got like his shirt off and he's just sitting there, and it really reminded me of Ethan Hawke out of Black Phone, where like he's just like sitting there, just like bulky, ripped, and like intimidating as hell. Rachel confesses that she had suspected that he was the butcher and left the receipt in the vacant house for the police to find, thus revealing that she was the one that tipped them off. Cooper decides to kill her and then himself. But Rachel persuades him to share one last piece of pie left that was made for Riley. After Cooper admits his hatred for Rachel in causing him to miss seeing his children grow up, he realizes that Rachel had drugged the pie with pills from his tool bag. Fuck, I love her. Leading him to hallucinate his mother, expressing pride in him for feeling real emotion. The hallucination is Grant impersonating Cooper's mother to calm him down, and he's teased by Grant and two SWAT officers as he's tased by Grant and two tased by Grant and two SWAT officers as he walks up to her. As he's led away, he stops to adjust Riley's bicycle and share a tearful embrace with her before being loaded into the police van. This is the moment you think maybe he is actually a family man, way more than he is a serial killer. But as you drive away, you see that Cooper actually got a piece of metal from the bicycle, and he uncuffs his chains with my bicycle spoke that he secretly took, and that awesome last shot of him just laughing at himself, which is, to me, a perfect ending. Because he's getting out. You know he's getting out. Like the way he is. So that is Trap. We do have that post-credit scene, which we talked about, which goes back to the character of Jamie when he's watching a police report of where Cooper comes up. He's like, oh, no! Oh, I ain't talking to anyone again! Which is great fun. But that is Trap. What do you guys think about the ending? What do you guys think about the film as a whole? And give me a score. KMeeks.
Yeah, I mean, that whole end section is great. There's a couple things in there I really enjoy. I think most notably is that part with him and his daughter, and then of course that final shot. But it's interesting. I don't want to talk too much about it, but going back to that premiere, like when I saw the movie for the first time, I was like probably the only person there who was just like sobbing when he was like hugging his daughter at the end. I think everybody else like was not anywhere near as emotionally invested as me. I could just tell, like, and I was just like trying not to like cry too much because I knew that I was in public. And I cry at movies at home all the time, but like when I'm in a theater, I'm like, I need to be a little bit composed. I don't want all these people thinking I'm a freak, like especially crying at a movie like this, not like the like a complete tearjerker. But I was like so overwhelmed by that scene, seeing it the first time, because of all those things I said about M. Night outside of the context of this movie and like how it applies to this movie. It just like, I don't know. I thought it was very sweet, and then yeah, the last shot is perfect. I think it's interesting because you said that he kind of like, you think he's a family man, and then all of a sudden like he's just gonna keep escaping or whatever. But like it's like, both things can be true, and I think it's like both super sweet in that part before it, and then also just like the cherry on top that the movie is like very self-knowing and can be silly the whole way through. And like a big thing that makes the movie so entertaining is that you're rooting for this guy who sucks. It's like he's a serial killer. He like you said before, he lit that girl on fire. Like he's doing all these things. He's lying about his daughter having cancer and whatever. And it's like, he's not a good guy. But like, at no point in the movie do you not want to see him succeed.
That's
like,
right. That's the crazy thing.
I think it's very important that like this movie is super entertaining. Obviously, Josh Hartnett's performance plays a factor. Like all these things matter, but like you're just rooting for a bad guy like so much. And I can't think of too many movies where like I love a bad person this much. Like obviously there are, like anti-heroes that have become a big deal, like whatever. But something like this, where it's just like you're watching a serial killer the whole time and framing it as a comedy where you love the serial killer is pretty unique. And I love that ending, that it's like he's like a gambler, like he can't resist, he's just like he can't stop. He's addicted and he just has to keep going. So like he's just gonna keep escaping endlessly because he's like, that I think that's an important part of the movie as well, is that like it's like this urge that he can't control, like he has to keep doing it over and over again. So I think it's a very fun ending. I agree. I think it's a perfect ending of the movie.
Nice. What do you give the film out of 5?
I give it a big 5 out of 5.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Obviously some personal bias involved, like I said, but when I saw the movie at the premiere, I gave it a 5, and I was like, am I just doing this because I met M. Night Shyamalan tonight? And then I've seen the movie twice since then, and I'm like, oh no, I actually do just think it's a perfect movie.
Good. Good.
Even if you were, so what? You know,
Yeah,
sometimes the
true.
experience
Yeah,
can.
true. It's like I actually had a comment on my Letterboxd review of somebody being like, "What the fuck is this review?" And I'm like, "Damn, like I can't be happy that he met one of his idols. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean?" I'm like, why are you complaining?
It's just jealous people, man. I got to meet Tom Cruise the year before last.
I
For
talk about that every day.
yeah,
If I met Tom Cruise.
yeah. I was like, and like me and him and like we had a little chat. And I got to tell him like, dude, growing up, your movies got me into movies, and he gave me a hug. He's like, that means so much to me. And he's like, ever since then, I'm like, dude, I fucking love this guy. I'm like, I will ride or die for Tom Cruise, which will be good fun
Definitely
for next
impacts
month.
it.
Yeah. Nash.
Yeah, I love Trap too. I think even just talking about it with you guys today, it like makes me like it even just a little bit more. I was like ranging between it was 4 when I first watched it, then it was 3.5, then now I'm like it's 4 again. It just kind of is in that like range for me where it's just really good. I don't think it's a perfect film for me, but I'm still gonna go back and watch it because I think it's so interesting, this idea of a guy who you want to root for, who clearly loves his children and his family, but he has this trauma with his mother and his childhood and, some behavioral problems of like this OCD and these urges. And it kind of makes you remember that, even people who do bad things, like they have a story and they have a past and they have these things that make them the way they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of contradictory as an audience member to want to root for him, but you're right. It's just so silly and like done in a way that makes him so intriguing as a character. So yeah, I have a lot of fun watching this. I think that a couple of the scenes that stand out for me, definitely the one when he's talking to his wife. I think Alison Pill is super underrated. I always
She's
like her
great, isn't she?
in
Yeah.
everything she's in. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
agree.
she's fantastic here. At first, I didn't really love that twist the first time I watched it, but the second time, I was like, it kind of makes sense. And like, clearly, she still sent her daughter with him because she feels it's the only way to know for sure. How do you just like approach your husband who you think might be doing something like that and
Yeah.
just have a conversation about it? You know what I mean? She probably was desperate. But clearly, she knows he loves his kids because she trusts him alone with their daughter. So it's kind of like maybe she's more trusting because she knows that there's going to be police everywhere. But I think it's an interesting like dilemma for her where it's like she clearly knows he loves the kids too, but should she trust him with them? I don't know. Obviously, he's capable of things she's not, um, you know, going to approve of. So yeah, it's just a really interesting family dynamic, which I find fascinating in this film. Other than that, you guys talked about everything. Looks great. Music's awesome. It's so funny. Some really great like comedic moments. And yeah, I think the ending is perfect. I hope it means that we get a Trap 2. I'll be sat for it if we do. If not, I just like to think that, he's just going to keep trying until he has nothing left to give. So yeah, I think Trap's awesome.
M. Night didn't really like to do any sequels until he did Split, which people love Split. I love Split. I think
I'm
Split's
one of those people.
fantastic. Yeah, I think Split's fucking spectacular. But yeah, I'd be all in for Trap 2, to be honest. And I think this has a good little cult following as well, which is good. So that might kind of hit it forward. I love Trap. The first time I watched Trap, I was like, this is one of the most entertaining films of the year by far. I loved it start to finish. I loved how it wasn't all at the concert because that could have been like 2 hours and it could have probably got a bit of fatigue there. And I thought the length that they did, I thought was awesome. Josh Hartnett, I thought was perfect. I think this is a really good. Because we had Josh Hartnett in, he was good, he was great in Black Mirror, don't get me wrong, but it's like one episode of Black Mirror, and then he was a side character in Oppenheimer. I feel like this was the flagship, like, I'm back, which is really cool to see, because he's in a bunch of new stuff coming up, I know. I can kind of get that up.
Yeah, he's in the new Colleen Hoover movie,
That's
Verity.
what I'm
Well,
Yes.
the movie adapted from Colleen
Yes.
Hoover's
And it's
book.
being directed by Michael Showalter, which is
Yeah, who did The
hilarious.
Big Sick, right? And yeah.
And Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, that's true. Yeah, I guess I was thinking of more recent stuff.
He
Yeah,
does
but
romance, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that movie turns out. There was a behind the scenes photo that got leaked recently,
Oh, really?
which is it's a cool photo. My I don't know if I'm allowed to say this public. I don't think it matters, but my friend is working on the set of that movie, and he was involved
Nice.
in that behind the scenes photo, and so it was very funny to see the the photo get posted on Twitter and everybody talking about about it after my friend had just like FaceTime me mentioning
Yeah,
it
that's
to
funny.
me.
That's
Yeah,
so
I've
funny.
read the book, so I'm actually excited. It's not, I don't read a lot of books, so I feel like it's just like the first time I get to actually know everything
Right.
going into it. Like,
It's a
not,
it's a, yeah, it's a different experience when you read
yeah,
a book before the film. It like, I think a lot of book people are obviously like books are always better than the movies,
right,
and movie people might say the opposite, but it's like sometimes they do just complement each other really well. Like sometimes it's just nice to read a book and then see the movie adaptation and enjoy both of them.
100%.
Oh yeah, he's also in the long. What's the movie? Sorry, the Long Run Home. I think it is, or the Long Run, which is upcoming. The Long Home. Sorry, which is an upcoming movie directed by James Franco. Didn't know he was.
Oh.
Didn't know he was having a
I
comeback.
thought he was
I thought we were
okay.
done with James Franco, but hey, little
That's
sis.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
probably
very.
not the renaissance we need to be having.
Yeah,
No.
Josh, I'd probably be taking back those contracts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this film. I think this movie's goddamn awesome. I'm giving it 4.5. That was the first score that I did it, and I remember I saw it with a friend for my second watch in my local theater. And he's like, I liked it. I didn't love it as much as you, and he gave it a 4. But then we started. It was like the classic, like you go get dinner after, and you're talking about the film. And I work in sales, KMeeks. I can sell anything. I can sell
Yeah.
this fucking movie, and I got him up to 4.5 because I was like just going through each film. I was like, how good was this bit when he did this, and this is why he did this, and then he's just like,
Yeah.
I didn't even see that. That's actually really good. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's great. So yeah, I gave it 4.5. I think this movie's unreal. We've got a little game as well to end the show with, but before we get to there, that is Trap, of course. Next week we're starting a new month, which is month of April, because this will be released in 2 weeks. Okay, mix. April, I tell you what, Kemix, I had to convince Ash to let me do this month for so long.
Me too.
I had to put in messages. I had to submit like a presentation of why we should do it. So April is Cruise Control, which is all Tom Cruise movies, which I just can't wait for. So we're starting out with Collateral, then Rain Man, then Minority Report, Jerry Maguire, and A Few Good Men. So a good little collection of
Good lineup.
great lineup of Tom Cruise movies, which we can't wait for. But that is next month. We're still going through this. I like to, before we get into our game, M. Night's such a divisive director, and I feel like you ask anyone what their favorite M. Night movie is always going to be different, which I think is awesome. That's such a cool thing for a director to be able to do, because you go up to Scorsese fans, it's going to be one of 3 films. But M. Night films, everyone's going to have a completely different favorite film. So we each have our top 5 M. Night movies, and I think it'll just be fun to go through it. 555, 444. So KMeeks, what is your 5th favorite M. Night Shyamalan film?
We'll say there's some like possible switching around on my list. Like things can move it when it's somebody like this who's like one of my favorite directors. Anytime you like rewatch a movie, you're just like, oh, actually, this is the best movie or
Yeah.
whatever. So my 5 spot is kind of a 3-way tie, but right now in this very moment, I will say that it's Old. But it could on another day be
Nice.
on another day it could be The Sixth Sense, and on a different day it could be Knock at the Cabin. But right now I'm gonna put Old at number 5.
Hell yeah. Okay, nice. Ash.
I really wanted to like, I'm gonna watch it again at some point because I feel like now that I know how it goes, I think I could enjoy it more. But for some reason, I just like,
To be fair, I did not like Old the first time I saw it. That was
that's
before
weird.
that was before I got into M. Night the way that I am now. But I like kind of hated it the first time I watched it, and then I rewatched it when I started to like M. Night, and I was like, oh, this is good. Like it's better than I thought it was.
Mhm.
And then I rewatched it when we did an audio commentary for it, and I was like, oh, actually, I just love this movie. Like
Good. Okay, cool.
I completely get it now. It's like
Awesome.
I think it's amazing.
Oh, that's
Okay, well,
cool.
there's hope then. Well, my number 5 right now, it's kind of like I feel like there's 3 that could switch around, like you were saying, but because I've just seen Trap for a second time recently, I feel like it's on my mind. So I have Trap. We've already just discussed it, but I think it's definitely one of his films just works better for me. I think there's a lot that are like in that 3 to 3.5 range for me, where it's like I like them, but I'm not super passionate about them. And I feel like Trap would become a higher one for me as I rewatch it. So right now, that's 5.
Yeah, nice. My 5th spot is a 2-way tie, but it could some days be The Village, but The Village would be number 6 now. If number 5 for me is like one of the best superhero films of all time, which is Unbreakable. I think Unbreakable's awesome. I think it's like one of the best like low key superhero origin stories of all time. Unbreakable. So 4 K
Nice.
Mix.
Yeah, my number 4, not flip flopping on this one. It's The Happening, which we mentioned. On a good day, The Happening could be number 1, but right now it's number 4.
I really want to do a happening episode because I want to chat. I want you to
I
convince
love
me.
it.
I
I
want you
really
to
do.
convince me. I'm all for this.
I could talk about I could write an entire thesis about The Happening if you wanted me to.
That's
Impressive.
awesome. Nice, Ash.
My number 4 is Unbreakable. It's one that I definitely want to rewatch, but I've always just kind of had it on my mind. It's just one that from him that I've liked for a long time. Um, spoiler alert, I do like Split a little bit more, but I think it's only because I've seen it more times. So it's definitely Unbreakable is one that I can see going up even more on rewatch. But yeah, I just think the acting is great, and I think it's a really cool origin story, like you said. Um, I like his whole little trilogy. I even like Glass. I don't really understand the hate for it. It's not like in the top 5, but I still think it's enjoyable.
I think the first half of Glass is unreal, and then it like, for me, I just don't think he was able to stick the landing and it, like be like a
I love
showdown.
the ending of Glass.
Really? Oh, well, I'm
I
glad you
love
did.
it.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I think it's like a fascinating anti-superhero movie where like you build up like there's like the convention of what a superhero movie is supposed to be, and like you build up this idea and it's like, oh, we're gonna go to this place and have this giant fight, and that's what you expect from like Marvel movies or whatever.
Yeah,
And then they just like can't make it to that destination in Glass, and instead it's like this like
it's just out the front.
small showdown in a smaller place, and
Yep.
it's like, I think I think that's very cool, and it gets underappreciated probably because so many superhero fans I think are watching it and they're like, oh well, that was lame, and it's like
Yeah,
that's kind of the point.
Well, when
yeah,
it came out, we were in the midst of all the
Sure,
MCU
yeah, it
stuff
was
to
at the yeah. I
do.
mean, it came out like right around. It was it in between Endgame and Infinity
I
War, or
think
was it
so.
like
Yeah,
after both?
Might
It
have
was
been right
around then.
it was
after.
in that
Yeah.
window
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I more didn't love the ending for Bruce Willis's character. I was just like,
sure.
because I loved this guy for like since Unbreakable. I've
Mm.
loved Unbreakable, so I'm like, that one kind of I didn't love. But funnily you say that, Ash. My number 4 is Split, so I like it just a little bit more than Unbreakable because I think James McAvoy is one of the greatest living actors of all time. I think what he was able to do in Split was sick. I think he should have been nominated for it. I think it's like, every time I watch it, it just he's just the most underrated actor. Is James McAvoy. He can do whatever he wants. If you've seen Speak No Evil, which isn't as good as the original, but it's like it's only good because of James McAvoy.
Yeah.
And like I think that I think he could do whatever he wants. Yeah, number 3, KMeeks.
Yeah, this is the only other place where I flip flop is kind of my number 3 and my number 2, because my number 3, I think if I put it on right now, would go up to number 2. But right now, it's The Village, which I think is like a match. I mean, it's like the most romantic movie ever. It's like, it's beautiful. I like sobbed through the entire movie. It's awesome.
Hell yeah, nice.
3 for me is Signs, one that we just talked about and rewatched. That one and The Village were the ones I watched a lot growing up. The only 2 M. Night movies. I didn't really know like these are M. Night movies when I was younger, but I watched the 2 of those quite often, and I always was fascinated by them. Obviously, understand them a bit more as I'm older and have a different appreciation. But yeah, Signs is just unlike anything, and I don't think we'll ever get anything quite like it again. I talked about that on the episode already, but yeah, number 3, Signs, and I think the number 1 through 4 are all like 4 stars for me. So I think his films for me, like I don't have any in that 5-star range, but maybe one day. I hope.
My 4.5 stars start at like number 9.
I
So,
think
That's awesome.
that's like me with Linklater usually or something.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, number 3 for me is Sixth Sense. This was a lot lower until there was like a retro screening at my local theater like late last year, and I saw it, and I was just like, even knowing the twist, it doesn't take away from the film at all. Like it just the way that they like they piece things together, I think is awesome. The scares are still so good, and they're really smart. I thought Haley Joel Osment was one of the best child performances of all time, and I'm just a sucker for Bruce Willis.
The best, probably.
He probably, yeah. I just love Bruce Willis. I thought Bruce Willis was amazing in this film. And I've said it multiple times on this podcast. I think the greatest actress of all time is Toni Collette. So anything that she does, I'm there. I'm sad for. Even if it's Mama Mafia or Mafia Mama, whatever that movie was called.
Very enjoyable movie, I will
Very
say.
enjoyable
Not too
movie.
many truthers for that one. I had a great time.
I had
You
so
know,
much fun watching it because of her,
yeah,
because she's
it's
great.
not good. It's not a good movie, but
No, it's not. But she's
very
fun.
entertaining. Yeah, she
She's
is.
she's
She's having a good time, and you could tell.
she is. But if you see Mickey 17, I just wanted more her. But yeah, so Sixth Sense is my number 3. So number 2, KMeeks.
Yeah, number 2 is Trap, which is the subject of the episode. I've said enough about it, but
Nice.
Great pick.
Ash.
Yeah, so originally I had this movie at number 1, but I switched them because I haven't stopped thinking about my number 1 since I watched it a few nights
Hell
ago.
yeah.
Number 2 is Split. I know there's a lot of different like weird discourse about this movie. I think for me it's just really the performances from both him and Anya Taylor-Joy. I just think that they just draw me in, and I just find it to be a fascinating story, and I just really like the movie. I don't know. I always have.
Nice. Yeah, I think me and KMeeks are gonna be equal here. My 2 is not Split. Trap. I think ever since I watched Trap, it went straight to number 2, and like each rewatch has kind of like reaffirmed that place. I don't think it'll ever get to number 1 because number 1 for me is one of my favorite films of all time. So I just don't think it'll ever get there. But
Might get spoiled before you even announce it in a second. But...
yeah. KMeeks, what's your number 1?
Yeah, my number 1 is Signs, which you guys just did an episode on. One of my favorite movies ever as well.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
It's a perfect movie. I'm interested at you both liking Split so much. I that's like much lower for me. Actually, speaking of Glass, I like Glass even more than Split, but
Really? That's cool.
That's a cold take, but yeah, I agree though. The performances are amazing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and I do feel like as I rewatch more of these older M. Night movies that I hadn't seen in a while, they might jump up and then Split will kind of come down a little bit. I just so fascinated by it.
Every single movie I've seen of his gets better every single time I rewatch it. And so they could only like grow, really.
Right.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, my number 1 is The Village. I originally said in my review when I watched it a few nights ago that it was like second next to Split, and then I've just been thinking about it nonstop for the last like 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah, you messaged me and Marta, and you're like, "How did I fucking love this movie."
I do. Yeah, I really loved it when I was like in middle school. Around when it came out, I was like 11, so I think I watched it like shortly after that. I just thought it was such a like, I don't know, it like almost like was just like a comfort movie. It like made me feel like comforted in my bed. Like it just has like that bedtime story kind of like score to it. And the performances are so good. And I don't know, I was just fascinated by the whole premise. And then rewatching it now, I was like, oh yeah, like my younger self had something, like there was something that clicked here because this movie is fantastic. It's so romantic, like you said, so sad, and just has so much of this like fear, isolation going on. Obviously, we're going to talk about this soon, Harry. So I won't go into it too much, but yeah, I love The Village, and I'm actually really glad I rewatched it because I probably wouldn't have without the pod, just because I hadn't thought about it in years, and now I'm definitely going to watch it again many times.
It's like a perfect movie.
Yeah,
it's so good.
This might be the 5 eventually.
Yeah, awesome. It should be. It's pretty much a 5 for me. So
hell yeah. Yeah, my number 1 is Signs. Watching this, we did a whole episode on this, but watching this as a kid, being like horrified by it, but still like really interested in it. And then the more you watch it, the more you take away from it. Because I always, growing up, when I watched this movie and I was like, I know, early teenager, I'm like, it's such a great, scary alien movie. But then you watch it, and I was like, no, it's such a great, scary grief film. And then like now I'm like, it's a really like horrifying tale of losing faith. Which I think is like why I love it so much. And that scene of the birthday party is etched in my brain as being one of the scariest scenes of all time. And no one can tell me anything different. It just is what it is. I love Signs so much. Ash, let's do another episode of Signs. We're starting it now. But before we
I could stay for another hour if you want. We can go all the time.
You're in. Before we go, we do have one little. Are we doing this draft? Or we're doing this draft wise? Or yeah, cool.
Yeah, 6 I think each.
Yeah, sweet. So we're doing a little fun draft where we're doing underrated films or underwatched films. So We've got 2 categories, and each have to pick 3 from each category. One is rated on Letterboxd, average rating of 3.0 or lower, and the other one is on Letterboxd, has 50K or less watches. So we each have to pick 3 from each. I haven't done a. Let me quickly do random.
The wheel?
Yeah, I normally do that during the episode. Random.
And I think we do it snake style, so first and last will have double picks.
Cool. So I got Ash, Harry, KMeeks. So going first, you probably be able to hear it on my mic, sorry, is Ash, I think. Oh, it's coming to me. No, it's Ash. Damn. Ash, remove Ash, and then who's going second would be, sorry, I should have done this during the episode.
The suspense.
Sorry, KMeeks, you get third place. So,
that's my favorite.
To be honest,
third
place is probably
I love
the best
being
spot,
on the turn. Yeah. And any draft I do, I love to like see how other people draft first, and then I have like a little strategy because I get to go back to back, so I can really like move the board. You know?
I love that. So Ash, what's your first pick?
I didn't want to go first. The category of 3.0 or lower for me is a little bit tougher than the watches. So
Really? I found the watches way harder.
Really?
I guess I haven't seen enough movies that are 3.0 or lower that I like love. It's hard because like underrated, like I don't want to pick it if I also give it 3 stars, you know what I mean? And it's
yeah,
I want to pick stuff that
we're including movies that are exactly 3.0 as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh man, okay. I'm a little bit stumped, but whatever. I'm just gonna go with my heart here. I don't really care about appealing to the people. A movie that I will defend with my life forever, that I love.
don't really care about the people.
Yeah.
I mean, I care about the people, but I don't care about winning the draft. I just, draft from my heart. I'm going to take Kevin Smith's Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Fuck.
I don't understand how this movie is so hated, but I love it. I think it's hysterical. I just rewatched it, and it does not deserve a 2.8.
Well
I get it, though. It's a comedy, so.
Well done. That's really good. Okay. I could kind of just wreck KMeeks here because there's something on there that I think he'd love.
I don't know that you can wreck me. I got a lengthy list here.
I bet you do. I'm gonna go with Letterboxd 3.0 or lower, and I just on rewatch I found this movie fascinating. Is Alien Covenant?
Oh, that was on my list actually.
Fuck yeah, fucked ya.
Wow.
KMeeks is done. KMeeks is done.
I think I will also stick in that. I think I'm just gonna get my 3.0 or lowers out of the way, and then just do my underseens after. A lot of options here. Ash said about doing kind of like personal picks. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I could do this draft in a way where people would vote for me to win. So I think I'm just going to stick with the movies that I like because
it's fun.
Because that's just I know my taste is not widely approved of, but I'll go. I'll go with Song to Song, a Terrence Malick movie. My favorite Terrence Malick movie at this moment, although I still have a lot that I'd like to watch. But Song to Song, exactly a 3.0.
Yeah.
Really gorgeous movie that people should watch. Kind of close to that 50K cutoff, but it has like 70K watches. So
that's awesome.
It's on my watch list. And also, we approve of your taste. We welcome all tastes.
Yeah. Our comment section sometimes doesn't. But
that's okay. They could say mean things about me.
Yeah,
I'll survive. I got thick skin. It's okay.
This draft is just for us, for fun.
By the way, it's cut off on the capture. I've just seen that Charlie Day is just in the corner of my video right there.
Do you watch Always Sunny, Kevin?
I've gotten through like 3 or 4 seasons of it. I've seen several clips of other seasons, and it is probably the funniest thing on TV. Even when I just see clips, now that I've watched enough seasons to kind of like know the characters and how they work, I'm just like, every clip I see, I'm like, this is the funniest thing, and they're like, nobody's doing it like this.
Yeah, you need to watch it. You need to watch it for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to keep watching it. It's just it's very long, and I just got into Survivor, which has like 500 seasons. So at this point, I don't know if I'm ever going to watch a show again because I'm going to spend the rest of my life watching Survivor just to try to catch up.
I tell you what, I'm not just saying this because I live here. A lot of people online also say this. Australian Survivor is the best Survivor.
Okay, so let me tell you something because I don't want to ramble too long, but I have a
I
fun
was about to
aside.
say.
My friend Max actually recommended to me that I watch Australian Survivor instead when I told him I was trying to get into Survivor. And I was like weighing my options. And the thing with me is that like you guys might not know this, I'm obsessed with Love Island UK. And
I
and
do
Love
know
Island
this.
I love
it's like my favorite show in the world. But I don't watch the American Love Island because it has like no real cultural significance around here, you know? And like the UK one, like the people on Love Island UK become pretty big celebrities in the UK because people there like actually care about the
Same in
show.
Australia.
And
Australian love
so
them as well.
and so like Survivor has a pretty big cultural conversation in America. And so I like there's people I could talk to about it. And that's kind of what I like about TV. Like I'm way more of a movie person, but if I could like have like a conversation with people in my day-to-day life about shows, then like that's what I enjoy, which is why I was leaning towards America. And then my friend Harry texts me and he's like, by the way, your friend who said Australian Survivor is the way to go is an idiot. It is not better than America. I was like,
No, it's
damn,
way
okay.
better. It's way better. No,
And I
it's
was
like different.
I trust Harry's opinion a lot because he has it's funny because your name's also Harry, but but he has like a lot of knowledge when it comes to Survivor, and he broke it down for me, and I was like, okay, I'll take your word for it. I was like, I've never watched Survivor, so it means nothing to me, but I want to start with American. I would consider going to Survivor Australia. I know
Yeah.
people like it. I'm not gonna. He's not the only opinion, so
It's not like as it's just not as full on intense as
right.
American. But
Well, that's what he was
still-
saying. He was saying like it's not even that it's just that the productions are different when they do Survivor in other countries and like you know I know some people like Australian more, but there's just like yeah I don't know. He was breaking it down from like a real analytical perspective, and I was like I'm gonna take your word for it because you're the expert and I've never watched Survivor, so
That's so funny. Yeah, no, the budgets are different. Like the rewards in America are like here's cars, and then here's like you get sandwiches. Like it's great. It's unreal.
yeah.
I love it.
I get another pick here.
You get another
right?
pick, yes.
And back to back. Okay. So I did song to song. I'm gonna like I wanted to like there's some movies that I almost like talk about too much where I'm like, oh, this is like such an obvious pick. But I'll take Twilight. That's just too good not to take. Five star masterpiece. Catherine Hardwicke's 2008 film Twilight. That's a conversation for a different pod.
Yeah.
KMeeks, I love this episode.
This I just rewatched Adventureland and I hated it when I was younger because I had like an issue with Kristen Stewart in that movie, and then I rewatched it recently and I was like, no, I was just being a hater. I love her.
She's one of the great living actresses.
She is.
That's so funny. Kevin, I'm going to take one of your movies.
Okay.
I think we're all on the same page as getting rid of the 3.0 and lower first. Well, that's at least what I'm doing. I'm going to go Knock at the Cabin.
Oh, not on my list actually.
Oh, damn it. I think,
Well, so what my thought process was, since we're doing a whole M Night episode, I'm not also going to draft
that's
M Night
fair.
movies because I just like I have an opportunity to promote some other stuff. So
that's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
But yeah, Knock at the Cabin for me, I think is awesome. So, and I think it's only going to go up in rating for me. I think right now it's like high 3.5 or low 4. So I think it's only going to go up.
Nice.
Actually, got 2.
I'm gonna take Batman Forever. I think this movie
Fuck
is
yes.
so much fun. I don't understand how it has a 2.5. I understand maybe it's not a 5-star film, but 2.5 is crazy low.
Yeah.
I have this on 4K. I bought like a copy from Groove not that long ago and hadn't seen it since I was like 13. And I was like, oh my God, I don't understand the low ratings. It's so much fun. The actors just all bring their absolute best. So Batman Forever.
Nice. You got 2.
Good pick.
Oh yeah. Shit. Okay. Last 3.0 or lower. There's a pick that I would love to take, but I know that everyone else hates this movie, so it's not going to do me any favors.
To be fair, everyone hates a lot of these movies. That's why they're under a 3.0. So
yeah, that's fair. I already took a comedy, so that's why I'm kind of like,
I know exactly what I'm taking. I love knowing that when you're next, you're like, I'm praying to God that Ash doesn't take this, otherwise, I'm turning this stream off.
Okay. Well, actually, I want to change gears here, and I know it's far from Christmas time, but I'm gonna take a Christmas movie
Yep.
because I think this movie is so I don't know. I think it's great. I think it's underrated, but I'm gonna take Krampus.
Hell yeah.
Oh, okay. I've never
Another
seen
Toni
it.
Collette movie.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Oh, I
Represent.
didn't know Tony Collette was in that either.
Yeah, and Adam Scott, who I'm a big fan of. So yeah, I enjoy that movie a
Yeah,
lot.
he's having a moment right now.
He
He's
is.
doing good for himself right now.
Severance is fantastic.
I've already written down my next pick. I'm taking, to finish off my letterbox, I'm taking just such a. I love this movie. Fuck everyone else. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Just for
Nice.
pod racing alone. And Cheska Sebulba. That's why I love Phantom Menace.
All right.
KMeeks, you got two.
Yeah, I'll take my last 3.0 or under. I could go in the direction of like a Michael Bay Transformers movie, which I am also a truther for, but I know that might be going a little bit too far because my favorite Michael Bay Transformer movies are the real stinkers on Letterboxd. So I don't
Really?
I want the people to like me at least a little bit. I think the route here is to take a horror movie because there's just so many great horror films that for some reason people don't like.
Mhm.
I have a lot on this list. House of Wax, I love. Skinamarink, if I was going to go with like a new one. But I'm going to go in the Halloween franchise. One of my favorite Halloween movies is Halloween 4, but
Oh,
a movie that I'm going to
H2O.
draft instead is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about this mainly from
Kind
George.
He's having a resurgence.
Yeah, kind of just a masterpiece. I'm honestly shocked George likes it as much as he does. I'm not saying this to be mean to George, but often these movies that are very divisive, I feel like he leans on the side of the negative, and I'm surprised he
Yeah.
loves it as much as he does. But it is like
I need to rewatch it.
genuinely an amazing movie.
Because I
Rob
remember
Zombie
watching it.
Very, very good.
I watched it once and I hated it. So I need to rewatch
Yeah.
it now.
Well, we did a whole Halloween episode for our Halloween special this past year, and so I watched the whole franchise. I do like H2O as well. It's very fun. Speaking of Josh Hartnett, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
but Halloween 2 is it's really really
Yeah,
good.
that's an interesting pick. I actually not prefer. I typically like Rob Zombie movies, but I have not seen his Halloween movies actually at all. So
I think they're both great. The first one is interesting because it is like brutal. Like it is mean as hell. And it's like, a lot of people complain because a big chunk of the movie is just remaking the original and then like adding stuff to it because he adds like essentially his Halloween is a 40-minute backstory for the original movie and then like an exact remake of the original movie.
Gotcha.
So it's just like 40 minutes tacked onto the original. But because of the backstory and because of like how mean and violent and nasty it is, the rest of the movie, like the remake version, it is like hard to watch. Like it is genuinely one of the scariest movies I've seen in my life. It's very fucking mean. And then Halloween 2 works in tandem with that. Halloween 2 is better, but also better because of the first one.
Gotcha.
Hell yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's a good pick.
Yeah. Oh, and then I have a second pick here. Okay. My Underseen picks here are really where we get. I have so many movies I'd love to recommend, but I'll start by saying that one thing that I've noticed as a Letterboxd user when we were talking about Letterboxd before, nobody watches documentaries. Like people just don't care about documentaries. Almost every single one of the greatest documentaries I've seen in my life as a big fan of documentaries is under 50K watches.
Oh, please don't do this.
This is pretty easy, but I'm going to take my favorite documentary ever, which is a movie called Streetwise.
Thank God. Good pick.
Streetwise is a masterpiece. I won't talk about it too much, but it's like it's a documentary about unhoused like teenagers in Seattle. And it's a very tough watch, as is the case for most of my favorite documentaries, but it is really good. It's beautifully photographed. Yeah, one of the best documentary. I mean, for me, the best documentary I've seen. Although I had a lot of options here, but if you're somebody who has any interest in documentaries, watch Streetwise.
What's Streetwise
That's what
about?
I'd say.
What's it like surrounding?
It's unhoused teenagers in Seattle. It follows like a number of homeless teenagers in Seattle, and it's like heartbreaking stuff. It's really tough watch.
Oh wow. Definitely check it. I've got a couple documentaries that I'm going to say here, so that's good. I was laughing before because I was double checking the film popularity numbers of a couple of movies. I was 85K, so I was a bit over, but I could have got Mystery Men, the Ben Stiller superhero film that he did in the 90s. Love that movie. I could take Mafia Mama. So that's like if it comes to
Really
it,
have less than 50K? Wow.
it's got like 30K. It's good,
Hmm.
yeah, 31,000. That's actually hilarious. I'm gonna take what is one of my favorite documentaries of the past, especially over the past 5 years as well. 2 years ago, this is like a second favorite movie the entire year, and it's still the Michael J. Fox Apple documentary. I thought that movie, I thought it was spectacular, and absolutely heartbreaking. But it also goes through like how Back to the Future was made. I thought that was fascinating. But the whole story of Michael J. Fox and his whole vision towards around his illness of Parkinson's, I thought was very inspiring and just like it brought me to tears.
Hmm.
I gotta watch that. It sounds sad. I thought when you said a new documentary, you were about to pull All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, which was also
Oh,
one of the movies I considered. But
that would been funny.
anyway,
Nice.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that documentary as well. I didn't realize it was under 50K watch. That's crazy.
Yeah, let me just double
it
check.
might not be actually. I'm not positive, but
Oh, sorry, I meant the Michael J. Fox one. I was
oh yeah. Well, that one's like yeah. I really don't think there's too many documentaries that have over 50,000 watches on
that's fair.
Letterboxd. I mean, all
Yeah, 37K.
I have a list on my Letterboxd of my favorite documentaries, and I don't think a single one of them, with the exception of Free Solo, which was like a huge deal, but
Oh
like
yeah.
every other one is under 50K. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, I'm not taking any documentaries, so spoiler
That's good.
there. But I'm gonna take one that I don't feel like hardly anyone I know has seen it, but 1962 Days of Wine and Roses from Blake Edwards. It's got Jack Lemmon in it, who I just absolutely love, and it's heartbreaking. It's funny. It's basically this alcoholic falls in love, and then he kind of makes her an alcoholic, but she has it way worse than him. So follows that journey. It's yeah, great film, and it's only been watched by 14,000 people.
Yeah, wow. It's low.
Yeah.
Right, that's a great pick.
Nice. How she got another pick?
Shit, I keep forgetting I have back to backs. Okay.
Gee.
Um, okay. Trying to have variety on my list. Sorry. Think next I'll go with a fun one that I was surprised was so underwatched, but 1999's Dick with Kirsten Dunst and Michelle Williams. So hilarious.
Yeah, that is shocking for 50K. That's
I
not
couldn't
as
believe
many.
it.
I haven't seen the movie, but I'm very familiar with it. I thought it would definitely have more than that.
Yeah, it's so like cheeky and charming and funny, and like the two of them are just so great. It's yeah, I'm a big Kirsten Dunst person, so absolutely love that movie.
That's awesome. My next pick for the under the 50K. This is like a classic Australian film. Anyone that like in Australia, this is the one movie that everyone knows. It's The Castle. It's a true story about this family headed by this man, Darren Kerrigan, and it's just all about like the typical Australian dream, and it's this like typical family just like living their life. But it's just so funny. It's hilarious and it's super goddamn Australian. And like at the beginning of the film, he's like, yeah, it's like it's the son telling the story about his dad. He's like, my dad bought this house for 400,000, and it's gone up, and it stayed the same price. So it's been a great investment. And he's like, he thinks that he got it for so cheap because we live under power lines, and there's these like giant power lines, and they're like right next to an airport. It's just like, it's so good. Every man's home is his castle. Fuck yeah, The Castle. KMeeks, the last two.
Yeah, I had an Australian movie on my list actually, Two Hands. I don't know if
Oh,
you've seen with Heath
Heath.
Ledger.
Yeah, Heath. Yeah, great
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, fun movie. I think same with documentaries and the on the subject of like trying to recommend movies to people. I should probably include something like a little bit more experimental. I have options. I know Ash mentioned before Richard Linklater. I think It's Impossible to Learn to Plow by Reading Books is like essential Linklater. It's his debut technically, although some people don't even consider it because of how underseen it is. But like it's like the blueprint for all of Linklater's later work. I think it's like really essential watching if you're a fan of Linklater. There's also like, I have a couple written down here. I have this movie called Symbiopsychotaxoplasm, which is like a mouthful, but that movie rocks. I'm going to take a Stan Brockage I don't know if we're allowed to include things that technically aren't features. It's only 40 minutes long.
I don't care. That's fine.
But it's called Anticipation of the Night, which is my favorite Stan Brockage film. It like moves me to tears. When we did a Brockage episode on our podcast, I mentioned that it reminded me a lot of After Sun. It was like an experimental After Sun to me. I don't know if everybody's gonna feel that way if they watch it, because I'm like, I don't want people who love After Sun to go watch this movie and then come back to me and be like, what the fuck was that? Because it's not After Sun, but I felt an emotional connection to it that I think like made me think of After Sun. And so if you're trying to dip your toes into any experimental stuff, I think Anticipation of the Night is a good place to go. And I hope that After Sun thing kind of like motivates people to check it out. You know, that's how I'm trying to sell people on it.
Awesome.
I love it.
And then I have another pick here, right? Huh? This is my last one. Okay. I have two of my favorite movies of all time under 50K. Like 2 5-stars for me. I don't really know which direction I want to lean in, but I'll say the one I'm not going to draft is Maidawan, which is the movie's so good. It's a John Sayles movie about a coal miner strike. Very topical movie as well. It's lovely. But I'm going to draft The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, which is a Rainer Werner Fassbinder film from 1972. If you're listening, you may have heard it referenced by Jeff Goldblum. He talks about it on he's talked about it in like red carpet interviews. Like there was like a viral clip of like someone asking him what character in a movie he would be, and he said Petra von Kant, which is a very funny answer if you've seen the movie. It is, in my opinion, the single most gorgeous looking film I have ever seen. It is just like a straight up masterpiece. It's very close to that 50K cutoff mark, but it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I also got made fun of online by some random person on Twitter where like, I forgot what I tweeted, but someone replied to one of my tweets and they were like, this person is actually mentally unstable because they gave the Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant 5 stars and we should not listen to him. And I was like, okay. So maybe that, you know, if you want to be mentally unstable like me, then this is the movie for you.
I'm on the letterbox now, and I scrolled down. I'm like, I know number one, Marta's already seen this. And scroll down, like Marta's 4.5 out of 5.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Marta and I have talked about it before. Actually, it's a great movie. Anyway, is the point. People should definitely watch it.
It's hilarious.
Nice.
I can't believe I don't follow you on Letterboxd. There you go. You got another follower.
Do you not?
Yeah, that's actually really weird.
Look at us making letterbox connections.
Look at us.
That's fair. Sometimes you think you're following someone, you just like assume, you know, because you're in the same community, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm not actually. I've had that. That's
literally it. Yeah. My last pick under 50K. I'm gonna go with a movie called Cottontail. It's probably, I don't know if it's cheating. It's out in a lot of the world. I'm not sure if it's out in all the world, but I saw it like early last year.
It's not yet.
Yeah, I saw it early last year, so that might be why. But I saw it at the Sydney Film Festival, and it like completely took me away. So Sydney Film Festival is like the biggest film festival in Australia, KMeeks. And I usually take it's over like 10 days. I usually take like a week off work and just try and see as many as I can. And there'd be like days where I'm like I have free, and they do a thing where like on the day we got $10 tickets. So, and my local cinema, which is like 200 meters away from me, or I don't know, you guys use yards, 1 billion yards, so it's like really close. And like $10 tickets, you got no idea what the movie's about. And I saw it was a movie called Cottontail, and I went and saw it, and it like broke me. And it's all about this like this husband that like just lost his wife from disease, but she's like a huge Beatrix Potter fan. Like her whole life she's just been obsessed with her. So she wants her last wish was to have her ashes spread at Cottontail, which is the estate where all the Peter Rabbits and stuff, all those stories are based on. So it's about this like Japanese man taking his ashes of his wife with his son to England and kind of resting his wife to peace. And it's this whole story of grief and like this beautiful like reconnection of father and son. I thought it was it broke me, and it was like a movie that had no idea that it was going to be. Yeah, it's unreal. It's yeah,
Oh.
I love that film. So when you can, definitely go see Cottontail. Yeah, it's also 94 minutes long, which I don't mind about movie lengths, but sometimes when you just need to fit in a film,
Hmm.
94 minutes perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Ash, your last pick.
So my last one, I'm going to take a Jacques Demy movie that I got introduced to from Marta, actually. Lola.
I'm
It's
shocked.
sort of like an unofficial trilogy with Umbrellas of Cherbourg and Young Girls, but it's still like its own character. But yeah, I highly recommend it. It's definitely underwatched in comparison to a lot of his other films that are more popular, but I think it's a really just fun watch. It's not my favorite, but I still think it's a really good movie. And it's only 89 minutes too. So talking about
Ah, love.
making time for, something shorter if you're kind of busy. It's yeah, perfect. It's got great music, great songs. Not a full musical like the other ones, but still has a music aspect. So
I love a long movie, but like, when you finish work, you're tired, and you want to go to bed soon, you want to
absolutely.
slip in a 90-minute movie, and it's actually amazing. Like that's the fucking dream right
Yeah.
there. That's the
That's
good
that's
shit.
that's fine. It's when people refuse to watch anything that's not 90 minutes. That's obviously a problem. But yeah,
Yeah,
nothing wrong with not having enough time for long movies every single night. I definitely understand that.
Millie Bobby Brown. Yeah, absolutely. Just to reiterate, in terms of Letterboxd 3.0 or below, Ash has gone Zack and Mary Make a Porno, Batman Forever and Krampus, Batman Forever, fuck yeah. I've gone Alien Covenant, Knock at the Cabin and The Phantom Menace, and KMeeks has gone Song to Song, the Terrence Malick film, Twilight, and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. In terms of 50k watches or below, Ash has gone Days of Wine and Roses, Dick, and Lola. I've gone still Michael J. Fox documentary, The Castle, and Cottontail. And K-Meeks has gone Streetwise, Anticipation of the Night, and The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant. That's pretty good. Wow,
Yeah.
I reckon I've now throughout this, I added so many movies to my watch list.
Yeah.
So
If you want, I got more too. Later,
yeah,
if you need more, the list
absolutely.
keeps going.
I'll be messaging you. Absolutely, I will be. But that is the end of Love Death Movies podcast. Of course, next week, please, we're starting a new month, new genre. That's going to be Cruise Control. First cab off the ranks. Cab off the ranks. Get it, Ash?
Hmm.
Because there's a cab in the film. Is Collateral, which I can't wait to
Great
rewatch.
movie.
Collateral. I fucking love
I
Collateral.
have not seen any of the films we're going to be
You haven't seen
watching.
Oh
Collateral?
wow.
You're gonna love
No, this whole
Collateral.
month is new for me.
Collateral is another one of my favorite directors, Michael Mann. He's
Hell
he's
yeah.
in that same
Yeah, love
conversation as
Michael
M.
Mann.
Night, where every single movie I watch or rewatch, I should say, becomes like my favorite at
Yeah,
that moment.
I'm excited.
Amen. Amen. So yeah, watch that next time. But KMeeks, thank you so much for coming on. We've got all your links in the description, so please follow KMeeks. But I do, like we say this to all our guests, if they follow us, they follow you already. But if there's that special one person, definitely do follow KMeeks, so because he's awesome and he always gives me so much insight. And my letterbox watch list is because of him, to be honest, because of you and Marta. Marta just keeps putting. It seems like she trips on a keyboard, and that's some random French film that's a 5-star for her. And then I watch it. I'm like, hey, I get it. It's great.
Yeah.
So, I love Marta.
There's a whole world of cinema out there.
I know she's great, but yeah, you guys really do open up eyes in terms of cinema that just isn't appreciated yet. So well done. But yeah, so everything's in the description. KMeeks, again, thank you for coming on. It's been a
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah, we'll have you on definitely again sometime soon for sure. We'll give you a list of movies and you can just pick out which ones you want to come on for.
Nice.
But yeah, until next time, I'm Harry, Ash, KMeeks. Love Death Movies. We'll see you at the movies.